You're watching Football Daily, and in this XI, we'll look into the highest scorers in each position. Some of these records are mental. Goalkeeper, Romario Ceni. Yes, we've spoken about him many times before, but it's hard to give Brazilian Romario Ceni enough praise. With 131 career goals, Ceni's had almost twice as many as the second most prolific keeper, José Luis Chilavert, though the Paraguayan is the only stopper to score a professional hat-trick. A World Cup winner in 2002, Ceni's best year is nonetheless 2005. That season, from free kicks and penalties, he scored 10 goals in the league alone and managed 21 in all competitions, making him Sao Paulo's top scorer. Meanwhile in England, Didier Drogba had finished his first year as a Chelsea player with a Premier League winners' medal, but just scored 16 goals in total. Sao Paulo won the Brazilian Serie A and the Copa Libertadores, Ceni's second continental title, and he didn't shirk his shot-stopping duties either, keeping 5 clean sheets in 8 knockout matches and being named Player of the Tournament. If Ceni had achieved such a feat in Europe, he would go down as the greatest keeper of all time. As it is, he'll have to make do with one of the largest trophy cabinets in South America, with a whopping 22 medals to his name. Defender, Graham Alexander. Sliding in ahead of Sergio Ramos in the fullback spot is little-known Scotsman Graham Alexander. The defender played just one season in the Premier League with Burnley, but featured in all of England's top 4 divisions over the course of 23 years as a professional, winning promotion 3 times and getting relegated twice. The right-back was an exceptional penalty taker and scored 130 club goals, more than David Silva and Cesc Fabregas. But it was his amazing durability which contributed to the record. Alexander played more than 150 games for 4 different sides, topping 400 with Preston North End, and reached 40 appearances in 18 consecutive seasons. When he retired in 2012, he'd racked up 981 club matches, 18 more than Ryan Giggs, and including his 40 caps for Scotland, he is one of just 25 men in football history to feature in over 1,000 games. Bizarrely, he never scored for his country, but his career after retirement is a testament to his reputation, as 2 of his former clubs, Scunthorpe and Preston, hired him as a coach. Defender, Ronald Koeman. Ronald Koeman may be a boring manager, but the Dutchman is an all-time great defender. Koeman won Euro 88 with the Netherlands, and 8 titles in his homeland and in Spain, as well as 2 European Cups with Barcelona and Feyenoord, scoring the only goal of the game in the 1992 final, as the Blaugrana beat Sampdoria. In the late 80s, he was twice Dutch Footballer of the Year, despite competition from Gullit and Van Basten at the peak of their powers, and looking at his strike rate, we can see why. With 239 goals in 685 games, Koeman scored more than any other defender on record, and he reached at least 10 league goals in 10 of his 17 seasons as a professional. He scored 46 penalties in La Liga with Barcelona, a record only just broken by Messi in 2017, and he's the club's second highest scorer from free kicks, with 26, again just behind the little Argentinian. Koeman's tally overall exceeds those of Steven Gerrard and Ian Robin, and he did it all while playing centre-back in a defence which conceded 146 goals in 152 games between 1991 and 1994, lifting 4 consecutive Spanish titles. Defender, Daniel Passarella. Until Ronald Koeman came along, Daniel Passarella was the highest scoring defender in football history. The Argentinian, who captained his nation and won the World Cup twice, played for Fiorentina and Inter Milan, but was chiefly associated with River Plate, where he spent 9 seasons and won 6 titles, scoring an incredible 103 goals. Passarella reached double figures in 5 league campaigns, and most remarkably, in 1976, at the age of 23, he scored 24 goals in the league alone. That tally exceeds all but one of Sergio Aguero's campaigns at Manchester City, and the centre-back later hit 11 in a single Serie A season for Inter, a record for a defender which stood until 2001 when Marco Materazzi got 12. Helped by taking free kicks and penalties, El Gran Captain was also lethal in the air, despite standing just 5'8", the same height as Eden Hazard. Ending his career with 153 club goals, Passarella also bagged 22 in 70 for Argentina, making him the 8th highest scorer in the nation's history, 9 above Carlos Tevez, who played 6 games more. Defender, Roberto Carlos. With 113 goals for Brazil and his various clubs, Roberto Carlos is the least prolific player in our team, but he's still pretty special. With his spectacular left foot and free kick genius, the 2002 World Cup winner only failed to hit the back of the net in one of his 21 seasons, and that came when he was 36 at Fenerbahce. Carlos never reached double figures in a single campaign, but he was the model of consistency. He made nearly 950 appearances, and with 512 games for Real Madrid, he played more for them than any other non-Spanish player, helping Los Blancos to 3 Champions League titles between 1997 and 2002, after they had gone 31 years without lifting football's biggest prize. And Carlos was a scorer of great goals, with his left foot seemingly unhampered by the ordinary laws of physics, as his free kick against France in 1997 and insane strike against Tenerife the following year will show. An all-time great, Carlos was instrumental in creating the modern attacking fullback, and he did it whilst entertaining the world.
Hold up, wait right there. Are you subscribed to Football Daily? No? Then click the red button down there and you won't regret it.
Midfielder, Frank Lampard. If you expected that Frank Lampard would be the highest scoring midfielder ever, you're right basically. The Englishman scored 303 goals for club and country before announcing his retirement in 2017, registering a strike every 3 games over the course of a 1,019-match career, which brought him 3 titles, a Champions League, and second place in the 2005 Ballon d'Or behind Ronaldinho. Between 2005 and 2010, Lampard hit more than 20 goals in 5 consecutive seasons, culminating in a historic double-winning campaign under Carlo Ancelotti. At the age of 31, Lampard created 3 chances a game, won the ball back 3 times a game, and scored a staggering 22 in the league, but somehow didn't make the PFA Team of the Year, with Fletcher, Milner and Valencia getting the nod ahead of him. Outrageous. Never given the adulation lavished on Scholes and Gerrard, Lampard was arguably more consistent and decisive than either player, and picked the perfect time to go out, hitting 12 in 19 in his final campaign for New York City. Midfielder, John Wark. Perhaps you don't know the name John Wark, but you probably should. The Scottish midfielder spent 9 years with Ipswich Town in the 70s and 80s, when the club routinely competed for English football's top honour. Though he mainly played a holding role, Wark had an amazing instinct for making late runs into the box, and at the age of 23 in 1981, he was voted the European Young Player of the Year after helping Ipswich win the UEFA Cup. That success saw him cast in the football movie Escape to Victory, alongside Bobby Moore, Pele and Sylvester Stallone. 2 years later, he recorded his best league total, with 20 strikes, and reigning European champions Liverpool paid £450,000 to take him to Anfield. He scored 3 hat-tricks in his first season and won the title, finishing as top scorer ahead of Ian Rush. But the Hazel disaster during the season's European Cup final against Juventus saw the Reds banned from the tournament for 6 years. Wark won another title before returning to Ipswich, and he retired with 223 goals to his name, around 100 more than Zinedine Zidane. Midfielder, Lothar Matthaus. With 150 caps for Germany, Lothar Matthaus is one of the greatest players in the history of one of football's greatest nations. The Bavarian, who made his name at Borussia Mönchengladbach, won 26 trophies in Germany, Italy and the USA, including 8 titles, the Euros and the World Cup in 1990. That year he won the Ballon d'Or, and Matthaus proved himself equally adept at playing in defence and in midfield. But despite his withdrawn role, the man Diego Maradona called his greatest rival scored more than 200 club goals, and in his best season in 1991, bagged 16 in the Serie A for the Nerazzurri, surpassing forwards like Roberto Baggio and Jurgen Klinsmann. That capped 10 seasons of Matthaus registering 10 goals or more, and brought into the UEFA Cup and their first European silverware since 1965. While he may not rival Lampard or Wark's strike rate, Matthaus' scoring record from his own half of the pitch is almost unmatched, and guarantees him a place in RXI. Forward, Romario. The so-called man of 1,000 goals, Romario's nickname is a little misleading, but he was undeniably one of the sport's greatest strikers. That 4-figure tally includes strikes from friendlies and even youth level, But Romario bagged over 100 goals for Flamengo, Vasco da Gama and PSV Eindhoven, won 5 titles in 3 countries, and lifted the World Cup with Brazil. The forward hit 55 in 70 for his country, and managed more than 20 goals in 16 separate seasons across a 24-year career, passing 30 goals in 12 of those. Brilliant in the last 20 yards, Johan Cruyff called Romario a genius of the goal area, while Diego Maradona, when asked who was the best player he'd ever seen, said it was between Romario and Van Basten. 7 times a league top scorer, Romario played until he was 43, and then pursued a career in politics, since becoming a federal senator for Rio de Janeiro. Forward, Joseph Bican. Despite what Pelé claims, the Brazilian is not the top scorer of all time. Not officially anyway. That honour belongs to Czech-Austrian Joseph Bican, who bagged a frankly insane 395 goals in 217 games for Slavia Prague. The forward also featured for Rapid Vienna, and appropriately enough he was lightning quick, running the 100 metres in 10.8 seconds, just 0.4 of a second slower than the world record at the time in 1928. Football was in his DNA. Bican's father was literally a martyr to the game, dying at the age of 30 after he refused treatment for a kidney injury suffered during a match. Across the course of his career, Bican averaged 1.52 goals per game, and he's the only person to score 7 goals in a single match, which he did 3 separate times. He was top scorer in 12 of the 27 seasons he played, and he was equally impressive off the pitch, refusing to join the Communist Party or the Nazi Party during their respective periods of dominance. He played until he was 42, scoring 22 in 29 in his final season, and featured for the national teams of Czechoslovakia, Austria, and Bohemia and Moravia, hitting 29 in 34 for his 3 combined. He died in 2001. Forward, Arthur Friedenreich. However, Bican isn't the only one who deserves a mention. Even if you allow unofficial goals, Pelé is not the greatest goalscorer ever, or even the top scoring Brazilian. Arthur Friedenreich bagged 1,329 goals in 1,239 games, and won the Copa America twice with the Seleção in 1919 and 1922, even playing in the country's first ever international. In many ways, Friedenreich was the perfect incarnation of modern Brazil. His father was a German businessman, while his mother was Afro-Brazilian, and Friedenreich started his career playing for a club specifically for footballers of German descent. At the time, racism was rife, and Friedenreich used to straighten his hair before games so he could pass for white. He went on to be top scorer in the Sao Paulo League 8 times, the first when he was 20 and the last when he was 37, winning the division on 7 occasions. After the 1990 Copa America, when Friedenreich was named player of the tournament, his boot was paraded through Rio de Janeiro and displayed for the fans to visit and pay homage. The forward ended up playing top-level football until he was 43, and he died in 1969.
So I hope you guys liked that. Let us know what you thought in the comments below. And if you've enjoyed that, why not check out the video on screen right now? I'm sure it's great. And as always, guys, don't forget to like and subscribe.